What's up, everybody? Tim Sykes here. It is a Friday, and we have a little bit of a different lesson today. We've had a lot of just crazy runners each and every day, pretty much, on the past few days. SYNC is the latest winner. I actually had a very nice short on this one. Where was it? So I made basically two good trades today, just a little, roughly $700 in profits between my short on SYNC and WKHS, and then I also made a little money on MWOG. But let me talk about this because this week has pretty much been about buying, but guess what? Penny stocks are good to bet against too when you have the right indicators. So here is my commentary if you're in the chat room every day, and I highly encourage you to be, because there are now roughly 1,200, 1,300 traders every single morning, especially at the market open, just trying to find the hottest stocks. So everyone was interested in SYNC this morning. It was down. It had kind of tanked off the highs. Remember, I was buying it yesterday at 330. That turned out to be a very good buy. And it touched nearly 390 late yesterday and nearly 390 pre-market. But this morning it was downtrending, and I said, do not buy this. This chart is broken. And a lot of people were confused because they're like, this is a contract winner. You said not to short contract winners or earnings winners. Well, everything, it's not an exact science, okay? So don't ever feel like, oh, you can never short an earnings winner or a contract winner. You just have to beware that they can go further than you expect. And I don't really look forward to shorting either of these, especially earnings winners. But contract winners are a little different. This company won a big contract with AT&T, yes, but are they really now going to win a contract with Verizon and all these other telecom? No, it's just one contract. They basically make websites. So it's a big contract. I don't mean to belittle them, but at the same time, it's nothing revolutionary. And now you also have to think about, what do they have to do to actually provide the contract to AT&T? They're going to have to raise some money. So every cent, every spike was sold into yesterday, even though it did get some nice spikes. You have to be very, very careful when it can't spike near or at the open on day two, especially when you have this many fake outs now. You have a solid top here at 390. So as it was coming down today in here, all pre-market and really in the 330s, and it was bouncing a little to 335, 340, 350, and I was like, this is not a dip buy. This is not a dip buy. And meanwhile, the stock is, spiking. But I stuck to my guns and I said, this is actually a potential short for me in the mid and high threes since it failed so much in that region. And I said, look, it's bouncing 30 cents off its lows. I was wrong to ignore that, but I thought it was a typical trap. My bad. And I will not chase here buying at 360. So this is very key. And I'm sorry that I have some typos. I'm trying to get out the commentary quickly. When it says not a day, not a day. That should be on the day. I'm just typing really quickly. And SYNC has yet to go green on the day, and it has trouble in the high threes, so it's still a potential short for me. So I'm teasing my potential trade in here. And, I said I think I entered, what time did I enter the trade? It was like 10:09 a.m. So at 10:09 a.m. I shorted, but at 10:06 a.m. I already warned. So a lot of my trades are predicted either by my watch list or my chat room commentary. That is why I'm a little different than most. I don't want you to follow my trade alerts. I don't think you should follow alerts from anybody. I think that you should learn to make your own plan. So my commentary is kind of like what's in my head. And at this point at 10:06 a.m. on SYNC, it is right around here. And it's around 350, 360, and I'm thinking that this downtrending is a very bad sign. That basically means that this whole short squeeze at the end of the day yesterday was wrong. And remember, when you can't get a big short squeeze, you get this. You get an attempted bounce and then a quick drop, an attempted bounce and then a quick drop. So if this short squeeze is wrong and not going to hold, then any spike is going to be followed by a quick drop. And so that's what led me to short this. Just a small position, again, because I could be wrong. This could keep going, but I like shorting stocks that have already panicked on the day, and at this point it was down from 390 all the way down to like 320 pre-market, and at the market open. So it dropped quite a bit off of its highs. So it's solidly red on the day, even at 360, mind you. It is still red on the day, and this is what's so important. It quickly went like green for like a second, or maybe like 3 seconds or something. It was really quick right in here, and it could not hold green on the day. So this is a very classic short selling pattern where the stock is solidly down on the day, but it tries to come back, and shorting this when it fails to hold red on the day is such a highly reliable pattern. If you watch the Tim Grittani DVD, I should mention, by the way, that you have literally 2 days to take advantage of this sale on timsykesale.com, all these DVDs. This is Tim Grittani's DVD, Trading Tickers. So if you go to timsykesale.com, you can see this. But this is a classic Tim Grittani pattern where the morning spike or the morning bounce fails, and you have great risk-reward shorting in here if it cannot hold green on the day. If it goes green, then all bets are off, and it could squeeze even more. But when it could not hold green and it was holding solidly red, maybe not solidly, but it was down like 5-10 cents on the day, I wanted to give it time as a short. And if you can see here, at 10:18, I'm still short, and I'm saying, it's holding red on the day, only a matter of time until dip buyers realize this should drop quick. And then I said volume fading, and then a minute later, I said perfect, because that is when we got this quick drop from 356 down to 340, and had I waited even more, it actually got down to 326. So my short at 360-ish was pretty solid. Even now, it's towards the end of the day though, so I don't really want to short this probably over the weekend. Who knows what they're going to announce. But shorting the morning bounce is a good pattern. My other trade on the day, and then I say this, at 10:21, WKHS is down another 40 cents since my cover. Congrats to shorts with patience. I did not have patience with my short on WKHS. I was shorting this one yesterday because they're a drone delivery company, and the FAA came out with some news saying, guess what? Drone delivery is not going to be here for another 3 years. I linked the article, and this had just come out on Business Insider when I shorted WKHS. So I saw that news and I shorted it at around 8-ish. And this morning I just didn't get the big panic that I wanted on WKHS. I would have thought that, people would have really, it faded nicely when the news was coming out, and I thought that there would be a lot of panic today. As it turns out, I was a little too quick. With breaking news with penny stocks, it's not an exact science when people are going to realize the news. If I was invested in a drone company and the FAA came out with something saying, hey, drones aren't going to be allowed, I would be out the next minute. I sometimes forget that A, people don't see the news, and B, people aren't trained to react to news when it's meaningful like this. So even if they did see the news, there was no real big panic really until 11 a.m. today when it dropped all the way below 7. So coulda, woulda, shoulda been, $1 a share profit from my short at $8 yesterday. This is kind of the gift and the curse of being so prepared. I'm sometimes a little ahead of other people, which is good for my, entries. But then I get frustrated when the stock doesn't do exactly what I want, and it sometimes takes another hour or two for, not as skilled or sniper-like traders to really see what the news is and think about what the news means. So this would have been actually a solid gain. I still made a few hundred on it, but this could have been a nice $1,000 plus profit. So good lesson for me. A lot of people aren't informed, or even if they are informed, they don't act quick enough. So anyways, good alert really by me. I know several students who are still short WKHS, and they're up nearly $1 a share now. So you don't have to cover these things. When you're a drone company and you have one product and the FAA is basically saying, screw you, this product is not going to see the light of day anytime soon, that's a big negative. And it's kind of cool how inefficient penny stocks are, where if this were a big company, the stock would be halted or the stock would drop 50% right away because everybody would realize how big it is. With penny stocks, there's not as much competition because there's not as much money to be made, so you really don't have to be as quick. That's the benefits of trading these kinds of undiscovered low price stocks. But I also got to give props to several students Boston George, I like this. He said, studying pays off. Yesterday was the most money I've ever made in one day doing anything. After hours of studying DVDs, I finally saw the profits I'm so eagerly waiting for. Been immersed in the markets is very important. I've been watching UNXL for weeks, so I was generally familiar. I felt comfortable while trading these. Patience is key. Definitely going to study hard and very excited for the future. You know, his name is Chris. He's one of my newest students, you know, and I think this is him right here. He made 2,300 yesterday, and you know, just a really solid 22-year-old challenge student. But this is the kind of money that you can make when you are prepared. I'm really proud of Chris. He just became a challenge student, I think, like 2 months ago. So it hasn't been that long, but when you start studying, when everything starts clicking, the profits can really add up. You just can't get this like on day one. A lot of people are like, yeah, I'll study later. Let me just get some profits so that I believe you. That's not how it works, okay? If you don't believe me, then don't study. Don't waste my time because your attitude is screwed up. I don't know how you don't believe me after all these videos and students that I show. But at the same time, it's not my job to try and convince you. If you don't believe me, then just run along because I don't have time for you. But if you do believe me, put in the time and effort, whether it's a few weeks or a few months. Sometimes it's even 6 months or a year. It doesn't matter. Don't feel bad if it takes you a little while longer to get it. The point is that you study the patterns, you start to get used to the volatility, you start to get used to the rules, and then you test it in the market with real money, with your own plans, not following alerts. And Christopher did this on UNXL and CHK, neither of which I have traded recently, but the patterns are the same, and he profited 2,300. So big props to Christopher. Here's Alex also. He made 700, and he shows some nice screenshots with PRGN and CLVS. I should bring up PRGN for a second because this is another good one where I was commenting on it, you know, into this spike, and I said, do not chase this spike because it has a tendency to fail in the 190s. You know, I was trying to buy the breakout in here in the 180s on this one, and it double topped perfectly at 2. Then yesterday it couldn't even get to 190. Today it barely got to 190. But in all 4 cases, when this thing spikes on a follow-up, that has been a time to sell. Not necessarily short. A lot of people are like, oh, if you think it's not going to break out, then I should short it. No, that's not to say that it's a short. I think it's still risky to short PRGN. But I said this, I wouldn't chase, and I said, oh, wouldn't. I meant I wouldn't chase PRGN here in the 180s. Again, like PTX and SYNC, it's tough for these to really spike, given how there's big sellers literally every penny a share higher. It can happen, just not likely. The key is selling into any strength, not chasing it. And then at 12.11, again, these are all time-stamped. So this is the beauty of the Profitly chat room. Sometimes I'm going to be wrong with my commentary, but sometimes I'm also going to be dead on. And you know, over time, I'm going to be more right than wrong. That's the key to being successful. So even though I, you know, didn't short PRGN, I said I knew that some students were long, and I was like, look, if it were me, I would definitely be selling any PRGN here at 192-ish. Looks to be the end. And then, you know, a few minutes later, I said it's failing yet again. You were warned, and that was it. So this was at 12:11 p.m. and I said I would be selling for sure. This looks to be the end. So 12:11 was right here, this first red day, or this first red minute, and that was the exact top. So you had the supernova attempt, but it was the base is too far below where it needs to break out. You know, when it already needs to go from 173 to 193 to even have a chance at breaking out and then failing there. You know, that is tough. Maybe if the base were like in the 180s and then it could spike to 2, and then 2 would be, you know, the liftoff point and could go to 210, 220. But this is just a lot to ask, especially midday. I don't really want to try and buy stocks for midday breakouts, especially when it's failed so often. So, you know, I'm proud of Alex. He actually shorted it at 193, you know, when I was warning. And he made a few hundred there. And overall, he made 700 today. Also got to give props to Airplane Jane. I recently wrote a blog post about her. Her husband calls her Sugar Jane. She's well on her way to becoming a 6-figure trader, and she made 4,600 in the first 4 minutes today. And then David, this is just a first $100 gain, so it's a little different, but he shorted 1,000 shares of SYNC at 358 on the failure to go green on the day, and he covered at 346. So no matter what your account size is, whether you're making 4,000 or 100, it's about learning the patterns and capitalizing. Today I'm up about 700 on the week, a few thousand on the year. My $12,000 account is now 41,000. So gradually over time, you want to see your account going in the right direction. If you're not ready to trade yet, or you want to trade really small, that's okay. My focus for you right now is please, please, please study. You have literally 48 hours when I finish this video to go to timsykesale.com, take advantage of these newsletters, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70% off, and these DVDs, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70% off. Before you can make these kinds of consistent gains, you do need to invest in yourself. It's not luck. It's not a coincidence that my top students study hard. Your knowledge and your experience and your how comfortable you are with these patterns will help you do better. So it's up to you. I can't force you to study. All I can do is try and give you guides and lessons and example after example of good patterns that have been long, as you've seen in pretty much every day in the past 2 weeks. And now today we've had a lot of good short patterns with SYNC, PRGN, WKHS. I should mention my other short was MWOG, which is a blatant pump, but I actually covered this. Interactive Brokers found me some shares this short. It's been steady here around 50, 55 cents a share. This will collapse, okay? But I think I had like 473 shares short from Interactive Brokers. So is it worth my time to have such a small position? No. I think I made like 10, 15% on my trade here, but it was like for like $20, $30 profit. It was nothing because it was such a small position size. But I don't regret taking that, because sometimes, you take a small position, and if you're shorting a blatant pump, you're still going to get a 50% drop. So it's worth it. So I'm always going to short blatant pumps much more aggressively. I am sad that I could not find any shares of GRWC, which is a blatant pump, and now it's down roughly $1 a share off its highs in just 3 days. So you have good opportunities, but you also have to find shares to short. That is the one downside of shorting. So I know a lot of you guys would prefer to go long every day, and that's fine. I mean, lately we've had so many hot long plays, but just understand that, I've made millions going long. I've made millions going short. If you want to be a well-rounded trader, you should learn, both patterns. Shorting pumps like GRWC, if you can find shares. Shorting pumps like MWOG. Shorting failures to spike on the rebound like PRGN or SYNC. And then probably the best pattern out of all of these was shorting, the first red day on a stock like WKHS when there's new news and regulations that are squarely going to be negatively influencing this company for the next few days and weeks and maybe even months. Maybe this news is the beginning of this company going bankrupt. It's a huge negative when you have a product and you don't have the legal authority to even release that product. So I'm actually surprised that it's not down more. As I said, I was surprised that it didn't tank right from the get-go, but that's on me. I still have to get used to pretty much this whole niche, not understanding the catalyst yet. I try as hard as I can, but less than 20% of my students who actually have video lessons, who have access to these video lessons, even watch them, which is kind of sad. But I guess I shouldn't be that surprised. 80% of people who have gym memberships don't even go to the gym. So it's the same kind of thing. So I can't force you to study. I can just make the guides. People say, "Oh, what percent of your students are successful?" I'm like, frankly, I don't even know. I don't. A lot of people don't report their trades transparently, and even fewer actually watch all the lessons. So all I can do is implore you to take time, especially over the weekend, to watch these video lessons and DVDs. And you challenge students. You got a lot of webinars from me, Michael Good, Mark Crook, Tim Grittani, to go over. And take advantage of this birthday sale, because you got 48 hours. We're not going to extend it anymore. but you can save a ton on these DVDs and newsletters. So I hope you have a great weekend. I doubt I'll make a trade till the end of the day. We'll see if anything pops up, but it's been a tremendous week. So congrats to a lot of you guys who banked and even more of you who learned. Thank you.